Hey y'all, so I'm just shooting this video. I'm not even sure if I'll post it anywhere or not, but just doing it while I have the opportunity. So this is my living room area. It's, 12 by 12-ish, and these are 2 by 12s, and they're just untreated construction grade lumber. Now, I installed them for my flooring, and I've had this here for a little over a year now, and I've really enjoyed it, and I'm able to do this flooring for just under $2 a square foot, totally finished. Now, a little bit of a background of why I've done this to begin with is my house is on a concrete slab, and it is in terrible condition. So from this point here, you can see there's no screws. I did not put a stud here. So it spans quite a bit because this is a really high point in the concrete. So from this point to the door, there's a 3.5-inch drop. Now, obviously, I can't lower the concrete 3.5 inches. And if I raise that end 3.5 inches, the floor would be 3 inches above the glass right there. And that would look dumb. It'd mess up the doggy door and stuff anyway. So I was able to eat about 3/4 of an inch of height by jumping this high spot in the concrete. So it still slopes down, but it's not even noticeable. You can't feel it or anything, but it did lessen that slope. So I started in here to correct that one problem. Sorry guys, I'm really struggling with my allergies. So this concrete slab though is in rough condition. So you can see a patch job right there, and it runs all over underneath this section, and there's a good amount of elevation difference from this one to this one. So I'm just trying to more or less just flatten out the extreme differences. I used to have luxury vinyl plank in here, and it was awful. You could see every ripple and wave, and it was disconnecting the vinyl plank. You could feel the difference, when you're just walking. You could feel the bumps and stuff. So this slab is not, here's a low spot right here where there's like a hole in the concrete. So I actually need to pop this up and shim it up or something right there. But anyway, so here is kind of the reasoning why I'm doing what I've done. And being a little over a year old and still really enjoying this, I did treat it with commercial grade flooring polyurethane. You can see the difference between the old stuff and the new stuff. This is dirty right now, especially with all the dust and everything I've got going on. So this is as dirty as it's gonna be right now. And it cleans up really nice. I mean, even dirty, like it still looks nice. But, I sweep this thing or vacuum it and mop it just like you would any other floor. And it cleans up really nice. You can tell that new stuff here. Now, again, this is just construction grade material. Now, with that being said, I hand-picked every single board, and I've got 40 more 2 by 12s to finish up the project out there in my trailer. But you can get some good-looking construction-grade lumber if you're willing to sift through a pallet of wood, and that's exactly what I've done. I've hand-selected everyone. Now, again, it's still construction-grade lumber, so you're going to have little knots or whatever in it. It's just up to you what's acceptable and what's not. But I've found, all these are obviously acceptable, otherwise I wouldn't have taken them. My lines are nice and straight going from this diagonal. All pretty well the same dimensions lumber. Now, for those of you who don't know, it actually varies quite a bit in width, even though you're buying the same boards. But all this blabbering to say, you can still get a nice looking floor, a durable floor, easy to replace floor for under $2 a square foot. If this one somehow or another had something drastic happen to it, all I gotta take out is the screws on that one board, pop it up, put a new one in, sand it, put more polyurethane on that piece. So, it's easy to maintenance. I haven't had to do anything to my floor yet, but just saying, you have that option, and it's easy and inexpensive to do. Now, for what I'm doing for the joists, so to speak, are treated 1x4s. I've went with 1x4s mostly because I didn't want to raise the floor up even higher, covering parts of the door there. So I went with 1x instead of 2x. Now, I mean, technically you would get more holding power probably if you had a 2x, because more screw would come from here into the 2x. But I haven't had any issue with this, and so this is what I'm obviously going to continue with, especially because I want it to be flat from that section over to here. So I'm just using Tapcons. These Tapcons here are right here, and you want the ones that have the flat head with the T25, because they can sink in and sit nice and flush, versus if you get the ones that have a 5/16 or 1/4 inch hex head, it'll stick up and prevent these boards from sitting flush on the 1x4s. So I've just done Tapcons, just one in the middle, roughly every 16 inches or so, going along. There's obviously just some loose boards and stuff here, but these are solid, and I'm using 2-inch deck screws right here. I can't go any longer than that, because then my screw will hit the concrete before it drills in, screws in all the way on this board. So 2 inches will get me past my 1.5 inch thickness of my 2x12s and into my 1x4s, and still give me enough room to bury the screw heads. So that's the components. I did this section without a hammer drill, and it was one of the most miserable things I've done in my life. I used just a drill that had a hammer function on it. I got an actual hammer drill now, and that made all the difference in the world. Anyways, that's basically what I got going on. I had to modify and cut the bottom of my door off so it can swing in. I'm gonna build a new door anyway, so this is just temporary so I can keep working on my project. So, after I get all my boards laid, I'm going to come through, and I measure every single screw hole to where they're all nice and straight lines from any direction you look at them. So, I got a, I don't know, I think it's like a 8 or 10 inch drywall sander. I'm going to come through and sand all the new flooring down, get all the pencil marks off, get some of the little burrs you get when you screw the screws in, smooth out little chunks like that, stuff like that. I'm just smooth it all out, and it'll really make the floor look a lot prettier. And then from there, I'll clean it up really good, vacuum it, sweep it, and hit it with 2 different coats of polyurethane. That's what my specific brand recommends. I use that same polyurethane up here on my countertop. It's dirty right now, but this is just a slab of red oak, and I actually did 3 coats up here, and water just totally beads up and wipes right off. And so I trust this stuff. It works really well. Actually, over here, whenever I did this, the first time after I did my coats, I came to stain the beam, and accidentally dropped a couple drops of dark wood stain on my new flooring. And even though it was coated, I was thinking, oh no, I've ruined that. But then I was able to come here and just wipe the dark stain right off of this. So it really works really well. And you can do as many layers as you want, or coats. They recommend at least 2, and eventually I'll just keep adding to it and just make that coat stronger and stronger. I've not hit the dark stain 2x6s yet. I need to clean those up, and then I'll hit those with the polyurethane as well. But yeah, that's the project. If you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to reach out to me. All right, y'all. Figure I'll demonstrate real quick. Hopefully you guys can see the difference between what I've sanded and what I haven't sanded. So right here's the line. I've just sanded all that. Here's what I have not sanded. So I tried using my drywall sander because it has like a 7 or 8 inch disc on it, but it doesn't actually work half as good as my orbital sander does. So I'm doing this entire thing with a 5-inch orbital sander. But and if I'm talking really loud, sorry, I got earplugs in. So I'm using just really coarse, it's either 40 or 60 grit sandpaper. And I'm not going for smooth. I don't care about that. I'm trying to remove, here I'll show you, all my pencil lines. You can see there's pencil lines all over the place, running all up and down. So I'm just trying to remove my pencil lines to where you just see the screw holes, and also the stamping on the wood, like right here. These stamps all over the place. Those are really ugly. So I'm just trying to remove the pencil lines, the stamps, just general dirt. Like you can just see how much cleaner this is versus that. Just getting dirt and grime and stuff off the boards. And lastly, you sand over all these screw holes and it takes away the splinters. Like you come over here, after you put screws in, there's always splinters, and these will come up and catch your feet and stuff, so you have to sand those good to get a good smooth floor. And then whenever I come across, I don't know, like a knot or something like that, I'll hit the edges and just make that to where it won't hurt if you step on it. Stuff like this. Generally you find like on the edges or something, I peel that off and I sand it smooth, like right here. I hit that, and so that's nice and smooth now. So I'm just trying to make it safe to walk on and aesthetically make it look much better and prep it for the polyurethane. This is the stuff that I've been using. Really like this stuff. I plan to do 2 coats. I've done 2 coats there, and it's held up really well. I might hit it with the 3rd. This time, clean it up real good and maybe hit it with its 3rd coat while I do 2 coats on the rest of this. But either way, there's the product number for anyone curious. But yeah, so get it good and clean. I'll give it a couple different vacuums, and then I'll come through with microfiber cloth and try and wipe any excess dust off after vacuuming it a couple times. Then I'll brush paint this stuff on. I got a 5-inch brush, so I'll just dip it in the can, and it says wait an hour, then do another coat. So that'll be tomorrow's project. I've been working on this. What time is it? 5:10. So I've been working on this section right here for a little over 2 hours right now. I'm not quite halfway because I still got to go from here over to there, but also this section here. So I've still got a few more hours to go of sanding, but I need to get all this prepped. So tomorrow can be the sealing it up day. Hey, good morning, guys. So, I finished up my flooring, minus the breaker boards there. I've sanded them, but I'm going to restain and refinish the breaker boards there. But everything else is finished and looks really nice. But I did want to talk on a couple things. Obviously, everyone's house and situations will have its differences, but I just need to talk on a couple things. Here's the old floor and the new floor for comparison. This will fade in over time to look just like that. I have sanded this one quite a bit more thoroughly than I did that one for sure. When I installed this floor, I did the boards butted up tight to each other like I did here, knowing that those are going to shrink and create a little gap. So just be aware of that. Do not gap your boards when you install them because they will shrink and create gap. So, yeah, with that being said, a couple things to think about. Whenever you go to do your lines and stuff, which you should, it's good to have them good and straight lines. But I would be, in hindsight, I would be a lot lighter on the pencil, do a really fine light line, or just do little dash marks continuing on, just so it'll go a lot smoother sanding. That pencil, doing a medium pressure line, was a pain to sand off. Obviously got it and it looks really nice, but something to think about. Also, just depending on your subfloor situation in your house, I was limited, as explained earlier, to a 1x4 thickness. It would be nice to have a full 2x4 thickness, because then say you had a board that's a little out of whack or something like that, with the 2x4 you can actually drive that screw down and actually have enough meat in the 2x4 to flatten down the 2x12. If it's bowed, you can screw it in further to have more pulling down power, so to speak. Another thing is wood's pretty unpredictable. You never know what each piece may or may not do. It can be perfect, and then all of a sudden it looks like a banana. So with that being said, definitely do not buy all your wood unless you're ready to start the project, because it will warp, twist, bow, get a crown in it. It will move all over the place. So you want to get it and get it installed within a couple days of buying it. Otherwise, a lot of your wood might not even be usable for this application. So another thing to think about is, obviously I use 2x12s. I just like the looks of them. But the wider the board is, there's more potential for it to want to cup in a little bit like that. Instead of being flat, it can cup in or out, whatever. You can still get that with 2x4s, 2x6s, obviously. But the smaller the board, the less potential for a bad cup to happen. Just something to think about. But it's also not near as a big issue if you go ahead and install your boards right away after buying them and bringing them home. Guess we'll talk time frame for just a minute. I'm a fast and efficient worker, and what I've done here, this section, plus a little bit under the couch and chair there, back in there, was right at 420 square feet, and it took me in total right at 45 hours. And now that is getting material and stuff like that, but it's a project. It took me right at 45 hours to do all this by myself. Turned out really happy, but just put in perspective, I was using, as you guys saw earlier, a small orbital sander. The sanding took me 6 hours to sand everything. And that was by far the worst part. I don't like sanding anyway. But that is just tedious, just sitting there holding it, barely moving it, and then move to the next spot. It takes a long time. I don't know. I mean, obviously you can rent floor sanders, but either way, you're going to need a smaller sander to be able to get in corners and tighter spots like that, you know, or to be able to take the knots down, things like that. You're going to need a smaller sander anyway. If you rent a bigger sander, I don't think it'll work very well because you're going to have slight differences in height for your board. And so it's going to want to be straddling the teetering point, and it's not going to sand on either side of the teetering point when transitioning from board to board. I hadn't tried it, just something to think about that I'm almost positive you'll have an issue with if you rent a bigger sander. Now you could, well, never mind that, because that wouldn't even be worth the effort. But yeah, so here it is, guys. I think that I've pretty well covered my talking points and my in hindsight points, but I'm really happy with how it turned out, and thanks for watching, guys.